That did not come out of my mouth right. Dog and the talk. Hello to my greasy eye. We are doing a monthly recap of all the reading that I have completed for the month of August 2021. Now, before we get into the actual books that I read for this month, I do want to make a little note and explain myself. There's a reason underneath my eyes look greasy, or if there is grease sitting on my face, it is because I am having an eczema flare up underneath this eye. I've actually had it for like a month or two. It's been there, but just recently it's gotten more angry and itchy. So I've got some ointment stuff to help the eczema sitting under my eye. And I didn't want to wear makeup on top. And I figured you guys would forgive me because we're talking about books here. But I did want to shout that out. Hello to my greasy eye. Anyways, let's get to the actual books that I read. So for this month, I read about a book a week, which is pretty good pacing for me, I'd say. I've got my books all stacked here. So going in order of the first book that I finished for this month, I'm gonna just set these here. This might come as a surprise to some of you guys, but it is actually the first time that I've read the Phantom Tollbooth. That did not come out of my mouth right. This is actually the first time I've read the Phantom Tollbooth, and I am doing a video where I read some of Reddit's most recommended books, or books you should read at least once in your lifetime. I'm slowly making my way through that list, and on that list was this book. Now, this is like a grade school book, but I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. This was such a pleasant read. Baby Morgan inside me just got giddy reading this book. It is such a sweet message. I loved Milo the whole time. What are they called again? The dog and the talk. His name was Talk. And also, what was the bumblebee? Humbug. They were such great side steeds to Milo, and this just is a good reminder, I think, sometimes to just look at life from a different perspective. So I could definitely see why this was a book that a lot of people say you should read at least once in your lifetime. I know for me, I've been reading some young adult books or some middle school books or grade school books, and a lot of times I feel like they don't resonate with me. This just had one of those messages that I feel will ring true to everyone. So I love this book. I would definitely recommend it. 5 out of 5 stars for me. If you guys know any other books like this, definitely recommend, because if you guys are familiar with my reading style, I tend to read very horror, thriller, suspense, murder mystery type of books. So reading something like this was a nice change of pace for me, but it was still something I thoroughly enjoyed. So this one's kind of tricky, this next one, but I am currently working on 4 Past Midnight from Stephen King. Not only do I usually have a Stephen King book I'm always working on, but this is part of another video that I'm working on, and as you could tell, this is taking me a bit to get through because it's quite the hefty book. So the story, though, that I wanted to shout out in this book, because if you can see where my bookmarker is, I'm more than halfway through this book, and so the main, I think the most famous story from 4 Past Midnight is The Langoliers, which I did finish, and I say just on its own, The Langoliers, I would give a 4 out of 5 stars. It was entertaining the whole time. The actual Langoliers, even though for the most part during the story you're not really sure what they are, the suspense that Stephen creates around this horrific creature in this book, it's exactly why Stephen King is the king of writing horror. So this is definitely a different take. Unlike a lot of other Stephen King books where they tend to rely a bit on the gore or the uncomfortable, twisty turny, gritty type of visceral reading / writing, this didn't rely so heavily on it. It actually relied, like I said, a bit on the mystique and the mystery behind the Langoliers. At least that is until the end. And I also loved the actual storyline. I don't want to get too much into it because I'm worried I'll ruin the story for you guys in case you want to read it. But the storyline is not necessarily linear, if that makes sense. I think you'll know what I'm talking about if you've read this book. So that as a twist, genius. It is so good, and Stephen King does not get enough credit for some of his other style of writing. For me, that's kind of science fiction writing, and so I really liked it. It kind of reminded me a little bit of 11/22/63, where there's a bit of that difference in time aspect, which just adds a little bit of another layer to the story itself. And so he did a really good job of also having a lot of the characters, at least one main character in the Langoliers, really lay it out for you so it wasn't too confusing. So I thought that was a really good use of characters in the book itself. And if you guys are curious, The Langoliers is it does exist in like its own book. If you guys do want to pick that book up, you can pick it up by itself. And I know there's also a movie adaptation, so I will have to look into reading that. But I have to say, I am so excited that we're rounding into the fall season because fall is my favorite season. I'm a Scorpio, so I am like a spooky queen on the inside, and so I'm really excited that it is that time of year where it's acceptable for me to be reading these types of books. I'm going to be doing a lot of content around like horror/thriller reading, so let me know in the comment section down below if you guys have books specifically that I should look into. But I also finished Secret Window, Secret Garden, which was also another book to movie adaptation. I believe it's the one with Johnny Depp, and I think it's called Secret Window or something like that. It reminded me a lot of The Dark Half. I'll have to look into the order that Stephen King wrote these books, but I wonder if he wrote Secret Window, Secret Garden before The Dark Half and then kind of fleshed out that idea in The Dark Half. If you read The Dark Half, I might have just ruined Secret Window, Secret Garden, so I'll be sure to put like timestamps. So skip here, and we're done with the spoiler. I've got about a third of this book left, but like I said, since we are doing a monthly recap, I wanted to throw these in there while they were fresh in my mind and I could kind of discuss them with you guys and share, since like I said, I know that they are standalone books in themselves and they also have book to film adaptations. So I'll be finishing this. Arsenic and Adobo, which I actually just finished editing my reading/eating vlog featuring this book, so I'll be releasing that later this week or a couple days after this video goes live, so be sure to subscribe if you guys want to see my full thoughts on this book because I won't include them. I will say I did give this a fairly low rating. I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars on my Goodreads. It just wasn't quite what I was expecting. I think it was a little too cozy murdery for me, and I was a little bored with it at times, but I did a really good job of making adobo. So like I said, that's all I'm gonna say about this book. By the way, I have another book that I just ordered. I'm gonna put it up here because I forget what the title is called, but I just ordered that like yesterday for another eating and reading vlog. I think I'm gonna be making some Indian food, so I'm very excited about that. The next book that I finished for the month of August was Dress Your Family in Corduroy and Denim by David Sedaris. I featured this in the vlog where I took you guys along with me to work, and I started this book on the shoot because if you guys are familiar with working on a film set or on location, there's a lot of like hurry up and wait. So I had a lot of time to read during those couple of days that I was on set, and so I started this book and I just finished it. What did I give this? I think I gave it a 3. Yeah, 3 out of 5 stars. David Sedaris I heard about a lot, and I saw this book at Goodwill, which is why I picked it up because I was super excited to check him out. I will say I don't think his writing style resonates with me. I did find a lot of the essays in here very entertaining because that's what this is. It's like a memoir compilation of essays throughout his life and lived experiences. And so some of them were really good and some of them just kind of like blended together. Like I didn't really understand the message. I think this is a little bit too deep for me. And when I read, I don't know, like I like to think of myself as like, you know, some of these literary students or like other booktubers that are very, what's the word I'm looking for? Like they can see the deeper meaning in the writing. I'm not one of those. I would like to think that I am, or maybe I'll work my way towards being one of those. And I feel like someone who is that type of reader would really like this book. But for me, I was sometimes confused, a little like, ooh, that's really dark. And, you know, like I said, some of it did just kind of melt together for me, and then other essays in this stuck out more. So that's why I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. I don't know if I'll read any more of David Sedaris' writing. Maybe if I like stumbled across one at Goodwill, I would pick it up to try again. But yeah, that's kind of what I thought about that. The last book that I read was actually Biology, and I read this on my Kindle through the Libby app. The full title of it is Biology, Truth and Lies About Why We Buy and the New Science of Desire. I gave this a 3.5 out of 5 5 stars. This was very entertaining for me. I also listened to it as well as read it on the Kindle, so I think in absorbing the information like that, it was more entertaining for me to read. And there were a lot of things. I actually studied marketing in college. I have a business degree, so a lot of the things in this book I was familiar with, but I was very surprised by some of the other things that I've read. Things like how farmers actually manipulate the color of yolk to be more appealing to us as people eating the eggs. Like different colors and shades of yolk symbolize something, and like trends within the color of eggs, like white to brown, and how heavily scents can persuade you into buying things, and just all kinds of random things like that. Like I found myself as I was reading it, I kept popping up out of my book and telling my boyfriend and be like, did you know that certain parts of your brain light up the same way as when you see religious figures as sports figures? And like just random things like that I thought was so interesting. And I love books that kind of give me little seeds of information I can like observe throughout my life or just spit out in my daily life. So if you guys are interested in like human desires and what persuades someone to actually go through with a purchasing decision or what's appealing to people, I would definitely recommend it. I was thoroughly entertained, and it's a pretty quick read. All right, guys, so I hope you enjoyed my monthly recap. I am looking forward, like I said, moving into the fall season for all of the cozy, quote unquote, cozy reads that I plan on getting into. Let me know in the comment section down below videos you guys would like me to film for this season. Like I said, it is my favorite. It's my birthday season. It's football season. A lot of things that I love are coming up. So yeah, I hope you guys, as always, are happy and healthy, and don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe, share with your friends and family, hit that notification bell, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys!